Representative Jamaal Bowman says he will stay as far away as possible from Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene after a contentious exchange between the two stemming from an encounter outside the Capitol last week. My next move is to stay as far away from her as possible, Bowman said of Greene in an interview with New York Magazine. Greene said she felt threatened after an argument last week with the congressman. Comments that Bowman criticized as reckless and dangerous, arguing that Greene's remarks evoked racist tropes. California Governor Gavin Newsom backed up Bowman, arguing this is the kind of dangerous rhetoric that led to Emmett Till's death. Jesus. The encounter occurred after Bowman joined a handful of progressive lawmakers who heckled Representative George Santos as he talked to reporters last week. The New York Progressive also engaged in spirited debate for presidential contenders earlier this year with fellow Representative Byron Donalds outside the Capitol. You're just seeing Jamaal Bowman authentically be himself. The black male educator, husband, and father of three trying to work with others to change the world, Bowman told New York Magazine. I like talking to people. I like debating people. I like learning from people. And I think it's through the process of dialogue and debate in learning that we build a better country and a better world. He said, and better world, I add today. Greene last week also accused Bowman of leading a mob when she went to New York to protest the indictment of former President Trump and said she feared for her life. She said Bowman shot at the top of his lungs, cursed at her, and called her a white supremacist, which she compared to calling a person of color the N-word. In response last week, Bowman said such comments were typical of white supremacists. Unfortunately, white supremacists historically is what they do. They try to dehumanize black people, black skin, and the black humanity so that they can be more likely to be targeted for harm, Bowman said. So I try to be fair when it comes to non-policy-based disagreements that occur between representatives, and that means that when Democrats do something wrong or lying, I'll say the Republican was right, and then vice versa. I watched the exchange between Bowman and Greene, and I've said this now at least twice. Greene did not look in any way as if she was afraid or terrified or panicky. She stood right there by him and even smiled as they went back and forth. In fact, I was actually going to be complimentary and say she looked pretty strong, defending her positions up against this, member from the other party. But you would think if somebody feels threatened, they would, run away. They would try to put some distance between themselves and the person. She stood right next to him, arguing for several minutes and did not appear to be afraid at all. And when she tries to say that he led a mob when she went to New York, and I remember this, during that protest. So Greene has this thing, and if you can go back and watch my video. It was a Greene comparing New York City to Gotham City. She has this thing where if people protest her, she compares it to violence or to some other criminal act. People showed up to her event and they were blowing horns and whistles, but no one said or advocated for anyone putting their hands on her, which and that includes Bowman. He didn't say anything with regard to doing that. So if you organize a group of demonstrators to protest a politician, now you're supposedly trying to make them fear for their life. No, it's all in the spirit of protest and showing your opposition to something. And I'm not going to say this was about his ethnicity. I think it's just her continuing to play her little victimhood thing where these people always want to call somebody else, particularly people on the left, snowflakes. But then when they get protested after they go to a state where they're probably not that popular in, and when people that are in the same chamber of Congress as them come up and try to argue with them about a topic or issue, they want to hide behind their shelters. I'm so scared. I thought Representative Bowman was going to do something to me. So I'm glad Bowman is saying this. Any person that doesn't agree with Greene and that actually wants to challenge her, I would recommend just walking away or being as far away from her as you possibly can, because she'll try to accuse you of making her feel afraid for her life as she's smiling and giggling and standing right next to you too.